I found out that my wife has a second social media account where she presents herself as a single woman with no children. We have been together for 7 years, and from the very beginning, she always appeared open, grounded, emotionally mature, a loving mother to our 5-year-old daughter, and a well-respected marketing professional. Nothing ever gave me reason to doubt her life or her character, until a random notification led me to uncover everything. It was just an ordinary evening. Ashley was taking a shower, and I was scrolling through my phone, trying to recall the name of a restaurant she had mentioned the previous week. I thought I might find it quickly by checking her Instagram, since she often posts food pictures in her stories. But when I typed her name into the search bar, the algorithm unexpectedly displayed 2 different profiles. One was the account I already knew. The other belonged to someone using a slightly different surname, a different profile picture, and a bio that immediately made my stomach tighten. It read, "Single, in love with life, no attachments, no children." For a few seconds, I was completely frozen. It was the same Ashley, same face, same smile, but placed in an entirely different identity. This second account felt like an alternate reality of the woman I go to sleep beside every night. My first instinct was to assume it must be a fake profile, maybe someone impersonating her or stealing her photos. But that thought collapsed quickly. As I continued scrolling, I noticed recent videos and stories taken from places we had visited together just 2 weeks earlier. Except in these, she was alone, with no sign of me or our daughter. She recorded herself by herself, laughing into the camera, saying things like traveling to recharge my energy or free to live life on my own terms. In every image, she was not wearing her wedding ring. She wasn't even using her married identity. My heart started pounding heavily. I knew I would eventually have to confront her, but my mind was overwhelmed with questions I couldn't answer. Why would she do this? How long had this been going on? Did anyone in her real life know? Ashley had never been an influencer or someone seeking online attention. Yet this second profile had gathered thousands of followers. The comments were full of men flirting with her, sending messages like, "How is someone like you still single?" And she responded to them, laughing, engaging, encouraging the illusion, feeding the false identity she had created. I immediately closed the app when I heard the shower stop running. My hand was shaking. I put the phone down as if hiding it for a few more seconds would somehow help me process what I had just seen. She walked out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, acting completely normal, as if nothing in the world had changed. "What's wrong? You look strange," she said. I forced a smile, an automatic one that didn't feel real at all. "Nothing. Just tired," I replied. She leaned in and kissed me lightly, and I felt a wave of nausea I couldn't explain. No matter how hard I tried to suppress it, something inside me had already shifted. The most painful part was that I still loved her, and that realization made everything worse. Over the following week, I began observing her differently, analyzing everything. I created a fake profile and started following that second account. She accepted everyone who followed her. She posted daily videos with filters, motivational captions, and phrases about freedom, independence, and self-discovery, all of it carefully curated and rehearsed. On Friday night, after she had fallen asleep, I checked her phone. It wasn't difficult. She had always used the same password. I opened Instagram and found the duplicated app, the dual account feature she used. But this second account wasn't for work or professional purposes. It was personal, and it was filled with private messages. I contacted one of her friends through that account and managed to extract part of her conversations. That was when I discovered she had been speaking frequently with one specific man. His name was Brian C. His profile was private, but from her messages, it was clear they knew each other in real life. And what I read made me feel like the ground had disappeared beneath me. "I wish you were here right now. With you, I feel alive. I promise everything will work out soon." That night, I didn't sleep at all. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, trying to understand how many layers of lies have been hidden behind the soft, familiar smile I saw every day. Ashley had never mentioned this man, never shown any visible signs, yet everything was suddenly there in front of me, cold, undeniable, and painful. I thought about confronting her immediately, but I stopped myself. I didn't want to act impulsively. I needed more clarity. I needed to understand whether this was just an online fantasy or if it had become something physical. More than anything, I needed to think about our daughter, because even though I felt emotionally shattered, I didn't want her to be caught in the middle of what was about to unfold. The next morning, I began putting together a plan. The following day, I watched her differently. Ashley woke up, played with our daughter, and made coffee as usual. Everything looked perfectly normal on the surface. But now every small gesture felt different to me. Every laugh seemed practiced. Every kiss felt like a distraction. She wasn't just my wife anymore in my eyes. She felt like someone performing a role. I spent the entire day watching her with this new awareness. The weekend passed with me pretending that nothing had changed. We had a barbecue on Sunday and hosted her parents at our house. I smiled, served drinks, and made jokes as if everything was normal. But inside, my thoughts were fixed on a single thing. Who exactly was this Brian, and how deep did this deception really go? On Monday, I took our daughter to school earlier than usual and went to work, but I had a different intention in mind. I call my IT friend Mike. He was the kind of guy who always liked to act like a hacker, and now that habit was going to be useful. Dude, I need to find out who this Brian C. is, I said directly, without any hesitation or small talk. Full name, social media, anything you can find. If possible, even an address. Mike paused for a few seconds, but hearing my tone, he understood I was serious. This has something to do with Ashley? He asked. Yes, it does. All right then. Send me whatever you've got. I'll look into it. I sent him everything I had, screenshots of the conversations, the Instagram handle, and whatever limited information I could gather from the private profile. Then I waited. Meanwhile, I kept monitoring her fake account. That same afternoon, she posted a photo of herself drinking wine with the caption, "When the company is good, time flies." But I was at work, and our daughter was at school. So who exactly was she with? I got home earlier than usual that day. Ashley wasn't there. I texted her, "Where are you?" She replied almost immediately. "Stop by the mall quickly. Want me to bring anything?" "No, just wondering," I wrote back. She responded with a smiley emoji. When she returned home later, everything looked normal. She had shopping bags from clothing stores and a new perfume. I kissed her, but my mind was far away, consumed with doubt. Had she really been at the mall? Or had she been with Brian at that moment? That night, Mike called me back. "I've got something," he said. His name is Brian Carver. He's 40, single, works as a dentist, and owns a private clinic downtown. And listen to this. He and Ashley follow each other on 3 different social networks. There's more. I found old photos of them together at marketing events. It looks like they've known each other for years. My stomach twisted violently. "I've got his address too," he added. "I sent everything to your email." I hung up and stared at my phone screen in silence. Ashley was in the bedroom, wearing headphones and watching a series, laughing at something on the screen. But I couldn't stop wondering, was she laughing at the show or texting him at the same time? That night, I made a decision. The next day, I lied at work, took my car, and drove to Brian's clinic. I parked across the street and watched. Around 1 p.m., he came out, got into a sports car alone, and drove off. I followed him from a distance. He stopped at a restaurant, and about 15 minutes later, Ashley arrived. My wife, walking into the restaurant with that man. They didn't hug or kiss, but the way they looked at each other, the smiles they exchanged, it was intimate. She looked genuinely happy. I stayed in the car, my hands trembling on the steering wheel. I want to storm inside and end it all right there, but I forced myself to stay still. I took my phone and started documenting everything. Photos, recordings, the way she leaned toward him, and how he discreetly touched her hand under the table. After about an hour, she left first. He stayed behind a little longer, clearly avoiding leaving together. I went home before she did, my mind boiling with anger and confusion. When she arrived, she was carrying dessert, saying we should celebrate our special day. "What day is it?" I asked. She looked at me, surprised. "Our anniversary. I thought you were going to joke that I forgot." She kissed me, and I felt like I was going to be sick. She had just been with him while pretending to celebrate with me that same night. After she fell asleep, I started printing photos, saving messages, and building a full record of everything. It wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about deception, about a double life, about our daughter growing up inside a lie she didn't even know existed. But I still didn't know the worst part. What I was about to discover in the following days would completely change everything I thought I knew about my life. In the days that followed, I turned into something like an undercover investigator disguised as a husband. Every gesture she made, every hour she was away, every small detail became a clue. Ashley, of course, didn't suspect anything. She continued playing the role of devoted wife, caring mother, and successful professional. But now, every smile she gave felt like a blade cutting deeper into me. And still, I hesitated. A part of me wanted to believe there was an explanation, that maybe she was confused or going through some kind of crisis, that it wasn't as serious as it looked. I couldn't tell whether that feeling was hope or weakness. But that illusion ended on a Tuesday night. We were watching TV together. Our daughter was already asleep, and she was on her phone with that same small smile, like someone secretly texting. I acted as if nothing was happening, got up, and told her I was going to bed early. The moment she went into the bathroom, I opened my phone and activated an app that mirrored her screen, something Mike had shown me how to use. Within seconds, I was seeing her messages in real time. She was talking to Brian, and it wasn't just casual conversation. He's acting strange. It feels like he suspects something, but I'm keeping everything normal, she wrote. Don't worry, honey. Soon we'll handle this. I promise it will all go exactly as we planned, Brian replied. Plan what? My heart started racing. I rushed to the guest bathroom, shut the door, and sat on the floor, my hands shaking as I held the phone. I kept reading. Brian, I trust you. Once everything settles, we'll disappear, Ashley wrote. He responded, he won't even have time to react. It will look like it was your decision. At that moment, everything collapsed in my mind. It will look like it was your decision. Suddenly, everything started to make a twisted kind of sense. The way she had been acting lately, avoiding conflict, bringing random gifts, trying too hard to make everything appear normal. She wasn't trying to fix anything. She was preparing her exit, a carefully planned escape, down to the smallest detail. And the worst thought of all hit me. She was likely planning to take our daughter with her. I went back to the bedroom, shaking, and lay down pretending to sleep. But what I felt wasn't anger anymore. It was fear. The next day, I went to see a lawyer. I explained everything calmly, without mentioning spying or screenshots. I told him my wife seemed emotionally unstable, and there were signs she might leave the country with our daughter. He told me to act quickly but carefully. He asked me to collect every possible piece of evidence, especially anything related to custody, the child's residence, school stability, and daily routine. He explained that in cases like this, courts prioritize the child's stability, and if I acted fast, I could request temporary custody within days. I returned home with a clear purpose, but I still didn't know when she planned to leave. Then Saturday came. Ashley woke up early and told me she was taking our daughter to visit her mother. Something in her tone immediately made me pause. It sounded rehearsed, too controlled. Can I come with you? I asked, trying to sound casual. She gave a small, forced smile. Honey, don't you have work to finish? I nodded. I smiled back, pretending to agree. I waited until they left with our daughter. Then, 10 minutes later, I followed their car. But they didn't go to her mother's house. They went straight to the airport. I parked at a distance, went inside, and kept watching from afar. Ashley was holding our daughter's hand, carrying 2 medium suitcases. She didn't look like someone planning to return home. That's when I walked up to them. Ashley. She froze instantly and turned around slowly. Her face revealed everything at once: fear, guilt, shock. What are you doing here? She asked, forcing a weak smile, though her voice betrayed her. I should be asking you that. Where were you going? She didn't answer. Her eyes kept scanning the surroundings as if searching for an escape route. I picked up our daughter and said gently, Go with Mommy, sweetheart. Daddy just needs to talk to her for a moment. She nodded innocently, not understanding anything. I handed her over to an airline staff member who looked confused and said, Please take her to the main hall. Her mother will come get her in 5 minutes. The staff member hesitated but agreed. Then I turned back to Ashley. You were running away? She stayed silent. You were going to disappear with our daughter, weren't you? She started but couldn't finish. With Brian? Her eyes widened. She turned pale, completely shaken. I know everything, Ashley. The fake profile, the messages, the restaurant, the plans, everything. You were going to make it look like your choice. You were going to leave me behind like I meant nothing. She broke down immediately. I was going to tell you, she cried. I want a new life. I couldn't handle this anymore, this pressure, this role of the perfect wife. You never really saw me. This was the only way I could breathe again. By lying? By running away? By taking our daughter as part of your escape? She collapsed to her knees in the middle of the terminal, crying quietly. But I didn't feel sympathy anymore. I felt something closer to clarity, finality. I turned away, took our daughter, and left. I went straight to the police station and then to the courthouse. I filed for custody immediately. Ashley tried to fight it, but she stood no chance against everything I had documented. But even then, the worst part of all of this was still ahead. Because a few days later, I would uncover that Brian wasn't just a lover. He had a much deeper, older connection to Ashley, one that would completely change everything I thought I knew. I thought I'd already hit the lowest point, that everything had already collapsed at the airport when I realized she was ready to leave with our daughter and start a new life with another man. But I was wrong, completely wrong. After filing for custody, everything turned into chaos. Meetings with lawyers, consultations with psychologists, court calls, and visits to my daughter's school to secure her stability. Meanwhile, Ashley kept trying to reach me, insisting we settle things peacefully. She said she was sorry, that she had lost control, and that Brian no longer mattered. But I didn't believe a single word. Every conversation felt like another attempt to repair her image rather than face the truth. And still, deep down, I felt there was a missing piece, something I hadn't uncovered yet. That missing piece came from Mike again. You remember I told you they knew each other for years? He said. I remember. I replied flatly. I went deeper. Old records, archived profiles, even marketing forums from a decade ago. And look at this. He sent me a link to an old, inactive forum containing a university event photo, some kind of communications fair. Ashley was there, much younger, standing beside a group of students. And right next to her, with his arm casually resting behind her chair, was Brian. Secretly texting. So they already knew each other back then. Nothing was happening. I said, got up. So what? Mike went quiet for a moment. The moment she went into the bathroom, is that if my timeline is I opened my phone, this photo, and activated an app that mirrored her screen. And your daughter was born showing me how to use. I stopped within seconds. I was seeing her messages in real time. I finished my voice. She was talking to Brian, and it wasn't just casual conversation. Then why? Mike continued slowly. Is there a comment from Ashley on that photo? But I'm keeping everything normal, saying she wrote. It was just the two of us back then. Soon we'll handle everything got complicated. I promise it will all go exactly as we planned. Before everything got complicated, I repeated. My heart started racing. Dude, I rushed to the guest bathroom. What if that before everything got complicated isn't about on the floor? My hands before she met you, I held the phone. What are you trying to say? I kept reading. I'm saying maybe Brian isn't just once everything settles. Maybe he was the first. Ashley, or maybe the only one. He responded. I won't even have time to react. It will look like it was your decision. Hit me like at that moment. Everything collapsed. My daughter isn't my daughter. It will look like it was your decision. With shaking hands. Suddenly, everything started to make it twisted and started comparing faces. The way she had been acting, I had always believed avoiding conflict, bringing random gifts. But now I wasn't trying too hard to make everything. And the worst part was that she wasn't trying to fix always avoided talking. She was preparing her exit. Pregnancy. A carefully planned was unexpected down to that she was confused at the time. And the worst thought we were all happy afterward. She was likely planning to take our daughter that night. I waited until my daughter fell asleep, shaking, and went to lay down pretending to sleep. Who was temporarily staying. But what I felt wasn't anger anymore. I need to talk to you. The next day, directly, I went to see without hesitation. I explained everything calmly, no delay, without mentioning spying or screenshots, and sat down on the couch. I told him my wife seemed emotionally unstable. She looked away. There were signs she already might leave the country with someone from my past. He told me to got involved again, but carefully. I'm sorry. He asked me to collect every possible piece of evidence. And our daughter, especially anything her expression related to custody, changed in child's residence, becoming rigid, stability, frozen, and daily routine. What about our daughter? He explained that in cases like this, the silence that followed prioritized the child's stability. Ashley didn't cry. If I acted fast, she didn't scream. I could request temporary custody completely still. I returned home with a clear barely audible whisper, but I still didn't know when she planned. I'm not sure. Those
Saturday
words
came.
destroyed me.
Ashley woke
I
up
left the
early,
house, unable to
told me
breathe
she was
properly.
taking our daughter
In the car,
to
I
visit her
broke
mother.
down completely.
Something in her tone
Everything I had
immediately made
built,
me pause.
everything I had
It
given,
sounded rehearsed.
everything I believed
Too
about my
controlled.
family.
Can I come with you?
Everything could have
I
been
asked,
built
trying
on
to
a
sound
lie.
casual.
The next day,
She gave a small,
I went to my lawyer
forced smile
and filed for
Honey,
a court-ordered paternity
don't you have work
test.
to finish?
Ashley
I
reacted
nodded.
violently.
I smiled back,
saying I was
pretending to agree.
traumatizing our daughter.
I waited until
and that
they
it was
left with our
unfair.
daughter.
But at
Then,
that point,
10 minutes later,
fairness no
I followed
longer
their
mattered
car.
to me.
But they
I
didn't
only
go to
wanted
her
the
mother's
truth.
house.
While the legal
They went straight
process
to the
was
airport.
moving forward,
I parked at a
I
distance.
received another
went
message
inside,
from Brian.
And
yes,
kept
he
watching
contacted
from
me.
afar. I said after
Ashley was
reading
holding
it.
our daughter's
You
hand,
think you're doing the right
carrying
thing,
two
but
medium
you're only
suitcases.
traumatizing an
She didn't look
innocent
like
child.
someone planning to
Leave her
return
out of
home.
this. That's when
I
I
didn't
walked up
respond.
to them. I only
Ashley,
took a screenshot.
she froze
and sent it to
instantly
my lawyer
and turned around
because now
slowly.
everything was
Her
out
face
in the
revealed
open, and I
everything at
needed
once.
one
Fear,
final
guilt,
answer.
shock. One
What are you
truth
doing
that could
here?
either
She
destroy
asked,
me completely,
forcing a weak smile,
or finally set
though her
me free.
voice betrayed her.
The wait for the
I should be
paternity
asking
test
you that.
results was
Where were you
without
going?
question
She didn't
the
answer.
hardest period of my
Her
life.
eyes kept
It wasn't
scanning
only
the
the
surroundings
anxiety of
as if
not
searching
knowing.
for an escape
It was the
route.
emotional
I picked up our
torture of
daughter
looking at my
and said
daughter
gently,
the little
"Go
girl
with
I'd held
mommy,
since the day she was
sweetheart.
born,
Daddy
and
just
questioning
needs to
whether
talk
she
to
was
her for a
truly
moment."
mine.
She
Whether
nodded
everything
innocently,
I felt was real,
not understanding
or
anything.
just an illusion.
I handed her over
lived
to an
inside
airline
for
staff
years.
member who looked
Ashley wasn't
confused
cooperating
and said,
after everything
"Please
came
take her
out
to the main
she
hall.
went back and
Her mother will
forth
come
between
get her in
silence
5 minutes."
and guilt.
The staff
At
member
times,
hesitated.
She even
but
claimed
agreed.
it didn't
Then I turned
change
back to
anything.
Ashley. You
that
were
I was
running
still
away.
her real father.
She stayed
and that
silent.
nothing else mattered.
You were going to
But
disappear
it had
with our
changed
daughter,
everything.
weren't you? I had temporary custody.
She started but
the
couldn't
school
finish.
and child protection
With
authorities
Brian,
required her
her
to
eyes
stay at a
widened.
distance.
She
until
turned
the case
pale,
was resolved.
completely
The
shaken.
judge took the risk
I know everything,
seriously.
Ashley.
And her
The fake
attempted
profile,
escape,
the
weighed
messages,
heavily
the
against
restaurant,
her.
the plans,
3 weeks.
everything. 3
You
weeks
were going to make
of
it look like your
nightmares,
choice.
sleepless nights.
You were going to leave me
and a little
behind
girl
like
asking
I
me,
meant nothing.
"Is Daddy
She
mad
broke
at
down
Mommy?"
immediately.
I
was
never
going to
knew
tell
how to
you,
answer.
she cried.
Because how do you explain
just-
to a child
I
that
want a
her
new
entire
life.
world
I couldn't
is
handle
breaking
this
apart?
anymore.
Then,
This pressure,
one Friday afternoon,
this role
the call
of
came
the
from
perfect
the lab.
wife.
The results
You
were
never
ready.
really saw me.
I went alone to
This was the
collect
only
them.
way I could
My
breathe
hand was
again.
sweating,
By lying,
my legs
by
shaking
running
as
away,
I signed the
by
papers,
taking our
and
daughter
received the
as part of your
sealed
escape.
envelope.
She
I
sat in the
collapsed to her
car,
knees in the
staring
middle
at it
of the
like it was a
terminal,
sentence
crying
I wasn't
quietly.
ready to read.
But I didn't feel
It took me
sympathy
several minutes to
anymore.
open it. I felt
And when
something
I finally
closer to
did,
clarity.
I read,
Finality.
genetic
I
incompatibility
turned away,
confirmed.
took our daughter,
Paternity
and left.
index.
I went straight to the
0%.
police station. My
And
vision
then to the
blurred
courthouse.
instantly. I
My
filed
daughter
for
was not
custody
biologically
immediately.
mine.
Something
Ashley
inside
tried
me
to fight it,
collapsed,
but she stood
It was
no
like the ground
chance
had been
against
pulled
everything
away,
I had documented.
like air itself
But even then,
disappeared.
the worst part
A
of all of
deep,
this was still
unbearable
ahead.
pain.
Because a
I
few days
can't
later,
fully describe.
I would uncover
But in the middle
that
of that
Brian
devastation,
wasn't just a lover.
something else
He had a much
appeared.
deeper,
Anger,
older connection
not
to
toward the
Ashley,
child,
but
one
toward
that
the
would
woman who had let me
completely
live
change
inside
everything
a
I
lie
thought I knew.
for over 5
I thought I'd
years.
already hit the
Who looked
lowest
me in the
point,
eyes
that
every
everything
single
had
day,
already
knowing
collapsed
there
at
was
the
doubt,
airport when I
knowing the
realized
truth
she was
might
ready
not
to
be
leave
what I
with our
believed,
daughter.
and
Who
start a
chose
new life
silence
with another
over
man.
honesty? But I went
wrong.
home in shock, completely
My
wrong.
daughter ran to me
after
and
filing
hugged
for
me.
custody.
Daddy,
everything
okay?
turned into chaos.
And in that moment,
meetings
I realized
with lawyers,
something unexpected.
consultations
The
with
result didn't
psychologists,
define
court
everything.
calls, and
The
visits
bond
to
did.
my daughter's
That girl
school
was mine,
to secure her stability.
not because of genetics,
Meanwhile,
but because I chose her.
Ashley kept
I
trying
had been
to
her
reach
father
me,
every
insisting
single
we
day.
settle things
I was still her
peacefully.
father.
She said she
But
was
Ashley,
sorry.
she no
that she had
longer
lost
deserved
control,
the same place
and
in
that
my
Brian
life.
no longer mattered.
The next day,
but I didn't
went to
believe
her.
a single word.
You lied to me.
Every
for
conversation
years.
felt like
I said
another
without
attempt to repair
hesitation.
her image.
You took away
rather
my
than
right
face
to know the
truth.
And still,
she broke
deep
down,
crying.
I felt there was
begging
a
for
missing
forgiveness,
piece,
saying she was
something I hadn't
confused back
uncovered
then.
yet.
That Brian
that missing
had left,
piece came from
that
she
she believed the child
You
was
remember I
mine,
told you they knew each
and
other for
only
years,
later began to
he
doubt.
said.
I
You could have
remember.
told me. I replied
said.
flatly. I would have stayed.
I went deeper.
I would have loved her
Old
anyway.
records,
Archive
now-
profiles, even marketing forums from a decade ago. And look at this. He sent me a link to an old, inactive forum containing a university event photo, some kind of communications fair. Ashley was there, much younger, standing beside a group of students. And right next to her,
with his arm casually resting behind her chair, was Brian. What's no longer there is you. I handed her the documents. The legal process would move forward, and I would be requesting full and definitive custody. You won't stop me from seeing my daughter, she said, her voice breaking. No, I replied, but from now on, it will be on strict terms. Supervised. And she will learn everything when the time is right. When she is ready, not when you decide. Ashley completely lost her balance. Brian disappeared. He didn't even try to contact me again. Maybe that was the only decent thing he did in the end. Today, custody is officially mine. The judge understood that my daughter needs stability above all else.
She doesn't know everything yet, only what she needs to know for now. That her mother made mistakes, but still loves her. That her father is here and always will be. Step by step, life is slowly returning to order. But it is not the same life anymore. Because after everything that happened, I am no longer the same person. The silence after a storm is the most unsettling part. Ashley disappeared for weeks. No messages, no attempts to visit, no requests, nothing. And despite everything she had done, that silence made me uneasy. The Ashley I once knew, or thought I knew, was never someone who gave up easily. Deep down, I understood that her silence carried more weight than any confrontation ever could. During that time, my daughter began asking about her more often. Is mommy never coming to pick me up again? And I, trying to hide my own pain, would answer, she will, sweetheart. We're just organizing things properly so everything is done the right way. I couldn't tell her the truth yet, that her mother had lied, run away, and built an entire deception, that she had tried to take her as if I didn't exist, that she created a parallel life where I was nothing more than an unwanted detail. But the real shock was still ahead. Mike called me again. Dude, there's something else you need to know. I exhaled slowly. Tell me, you remember I told you Brian and Ashley had a history from years ago? I went deeper. I accessed an old email account she used back in college, one she doesn't even use anymore. It was linked to a cloud storage account. There are archived messages and a folder called Plan B. What kind of plan? I asked. Years ago, Ashley tried to sue Brian. I froze. What do you mean? She got pregnant, told him, and he disappeared. He said he didn't want anything to do with a child. She threatened to expose him to his family, to destroy his reputation. He was already building his career as a dentist. They fought badly. There are voice recordings, screenshots. She even said she would make him pay another way. I swallowed hard. And I was that other way. Exactly. A bitter taste rose in my throat. So Ashley hadn't simply fallen in love with me. It wasn't some natural relationship that developed over time, like she always described. It was something else entirely. A calculated decision born from anger and desperation. I wasn't the first choice. I was the backup plan. The safe option. The stable man. The emotionally available replacement. I was her plan B, literally. I sat on the edge of the bed for minutes, staring into nothing. 7 years. 7 years of marriage built on something carefully constructed and deeply untrue. And yet, in the middle of all that betrayal and disappointment, I felt something unexpected. Relief. Because now I finally understood. Now everything had a shape. A few days later, Ashley reached out. I need to talk, she wrote. I just want to say goodbye properly. I hesitated, but eventually agreed. We met at a public park where our daughter used to play. Ashley arrived with her head down, dressed simply, no makeup, none of the confidence or carefully built persona she once carried. I read what you found, she said quietly, before I even had to mention it. The folder, the messages, everything. So you know that I know, I replied. She nodded. At first it was, yes, desperation, anger toward Brian. And then you appeared. You were kind, different. You saw something in me that I couldn't even see myself. And I held on to that. I held on to you. Then she looked down. And then, I don't know anymore. I think I started believing my own lie. I began living it like it was real. But I never fully let go of the past. And when it came back, I got lost again. I wanted to shout at her. I wanted to tell her she had destroyed lives out of her own confusion and selfishness. But I didn't. The only thing that matters now is our daughter, I said. She needs stability, not chaos. You'll have to rebuild that bond, I added. Slowly, carefully, respecting her pace. Ashley nodded, tears falling. I know. And if she ever forgives me, it will be more than I deserve. We stayed in silence for a moment. Then she stood up. Thank you, she said softly, for everything you did, even without knowing. And she left. Sitting there on that park bench, I understood something clearly. Ashley may have used me, betrayed me, lied to me, but she also gave me something no one else could have, my daughter. And for her, I would endure anything. After that final conversation, I expected Ashley to disappear for a while, to retreat and process everything. But she surprised me. The following week, she sent a formal email. No warmth, no emotion, just structure and distance. I would like to schedule a supervised visit in accordance with a court ruling to see our daughter. I will respect all conditions. She didn't even say our daughter with warmth. She didn't use her name. It was as if she was afraid to feel too much. I replied, confirming the date and place. A neutral facility with a social worker present. I would be in a separate room, watching through a glass panel. That was the arrangement the judge approved. And honestly, I preferred it that way. On the day of the visit, Ashley arrived exactly on time. My daughter entered the room excitedly, holding a toy. The moment she saw her mother, she immediately ran toward her. Ashley held her tightly, as if she were trying to repair a broken vase with her bare hands. On the other side of the glass, I cried in silence. Because no matter how much anger still existed inside me, I couldn't deny that the bond between mother and daughter was real, damaged, fragile, but real. Ashley didn't try to explain anything. She simply listened, played, and cried quietly when our daughter said she had missed her. It was a hard hour. Emotional, overwhelming, but necessary. After that, the visits became bi-weekly. Slowly, my daughter began to regain her sense of stability and confidence. Her innocence affected me deeply. She still didn't know what her mother had done. And when she eventually learned the truth one day, it would be another pain we would have to face together, step by step. During that period, I began therapy. For the first time, I spoke about everything without holding back. The betrayal, the paternity test, the manipulation, the feeling of being just a piece on someone else's chessboard, and the guilt. Yes, guilt. Because even though I had been the victim, a part of me still asked, how did I not see it earlier? How did I miss so many signs? The psychologist was clear. You trusted. And trusting is not weakness, it's courage. That sentence stayed with me. It kept echoing in my mind. Meanwhile, Ashley began to change. She became quieter, more controlled, more emotionally restrained. She no longer tried to contact me outside of the visits. She started working in online consulting and continued living with her mother. She also began sending small notes along with the toys her daughter brought back for visits. Thank you for taking such good care of her. She talks about you with so much pride. I know I don't deserve it, but thank you for keeping everything balanced. I never replied, not out of anger, but out of self-protection. I needed distance. I needed time. One day, after one of the visits, the social worker contacted me. She's doing everything correctly, within what's possible, she said. She's following all the guidelines. She seems genuinely remorseful. I nodded, but inside the conflict remained. Because forgiveness is a choice, and I still didn't know if I was ready to make it. Then one afternoon, my daughter came to me holding a drawing. It's us, Daddy, she said happily. And here's Mommy. I looked at the paper. 3 small stick figures holding hands, all smiling. She pointed to herself in the middle. I'm the heart. I swallowed hard. Those simple words broke something inside me, because in the end, that was exactly what she was, the heart, the center of everything. The reason I endured every betrayal, every revelation, every moment of pain. And for her, I knew I had to become better. The following week, I sent Ashley an email. Short, direct. The pain is still there, and the disappointment even more. But for our daughter, I am willing to keep peace. Not because of what you were to me, but because of what she is to both of us. She deserves 2 adults who can be better than their mistakes. Her reply came the next day. That's all I can ask for. Thank you for being that man. And that was how the cycle began to close. Not with a perfect ending, but with a new beginning. From the moment I chose peace with Ashley, something inside me slowly started to heal. Not because of her, but because I stopped feeding hatred. I no longer had the energy for it. All I wanted was stability for my daughter, and, if possible, a little peace for myself. And that peace began in small steps. We met occasionally at birthdays, school events, and school presentations. At first, we stayed on opposite sides of the room, just a polite nod, a brief hello, nothing more. But over time, a quiet form of coexistence formed between us. Not friendship, not closeness, just a controlled, silent truce.
Ashley became more transparent. She informed me in advance when she wanted to take our daughter on short trips, shared locations, sent photos and updates, and strictly followed the visitation schedule. She never tried to reopen emotional conversations about us. She never asked for forgiveness again. And strangely, I was grateful for that, because words no longer mattered. Only actions did. During this period, I met someone. Her name was Claire, a psychologist, single, no children. We met during a school event. She was the aunt of one of my daughter's classmates. The children had exchanged sticker album cards, and she came over to speak with me. It was simple, light, with no pressure at all. I was cautious at first, closed off, convinced I had no space left in my life for anyone else. I believed I was emotionally unreachable. But Claire had a way of entering through doors I didn't even realize were still open. We started talking through messages, then coffee, then walks in the park with the children. She was gentle with my daughter in a way that felt natural, without